So today we're doing a braised beef and we're going to be serving it with the perfect confit potatoes. And I've got some relatively cheap cuts of beef here. These are beef cheeks and they are hard-working muscles of the animal. As you can imagine, throughout the life of a cow, it's constantly chewing, and hence the reason why these are hard-working muscles. So ideally, we want to be cooking this over a long session, really nice and really slow. So then quite simply, we're going to be braising them and then glaze them and then serve them with the perfect confit potato. So first thing I'm gonna do is get a cast iron skillet or a casserole dish over a medium-high heat, and then I'm just going to simply add in a good glog of a neutral oil. And really the key here is to get that oil really nice and hot. You want it to be smoking. So as I say, as soon as it's smoking, we're going to add in the cheeks. But while that pan is coming up to heat, I'm just going to simply season the beef just simply with some salt. And once that oil's smoking, I'm just going to lay the beef onto the pan and away from me. And really, don't be afraid to get that beef really nice and brown. And while that beef is in the pan, I'm going to peel a couple of carrots, and then we're going to start building on that flavour. Now with the carrot, we want to get the exposed part of the vegetable onto the pan. And next, a white onion cut into quarters with the skin and everything on. And again, we want to get the exposed part of the onion onto that pan. And I've left the skin on the onion as that skin will give the final sauce a lovely deep colour. And now a few dice of butter. And as that butter starts to break down and increase in heat, it will turn brown, or what they call a burnt noisette, which is the key to the final flavour of this dish. And once the beef is all nice and brown, we can turn over the vegetables. And this charring on the veg is really what we're after, which is again another key to the final flavour of this dish. And lastly, before we start the liquid process and get the wine in, we want to get in some aromats in the form of a few cloves of garlic with the skin on. Get it in there, nice and easy, fuss-free. And then we want to get in some bay leaves. And lastly, I've got a teaspoon of celery salt, which will give this dish a nice earthy flavour. And now we're ready to add in our wine. And I'm gonna get in a good glug of red wine in there. And now we're going to cook off the alcohol and get the wine nice and reduced. That wine's nicely reduced. I'm going to get my beef stock in there, just enough so we get the beef covered with the liquid. And now that liquid's come up to the boil, I can just get the lid on and transfer this into the oven at 160 degrees Celsius. And I'll just leave that in there for about 2 hours and 15 minutes. So it's been an hour and the beef has been braising in the oven, and it's now time to get on with the confit potato. So I'm going to start preparing the potato, and here I've got the standard Maris Piper. I'm just going to simply peel the potato. Once the potato's peeled, we just want to get a nice round shape on the potato. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. If you want to get it perfect, in fact, you can use a ring cutter and just run it through the potato, and you'll end up with a really nice round shaped potato. But here I'm just going to use the peeler, and I've prepared a few of them already, and I'll just lay that here on the board. So essentially, to achieve this shape, I will need to just cut the top and the bottom. And when you're cutting the top and the bottom, you really want to get one nice confident cut through the potato, as opposed to going at the potato a few times, say, you know, 2, 3, 4 times, because you don't want to end up with a jagged surface. Because in a bit we're going to try and get a really nice color on the surface of the potato, and if it's jagged, then essentially you won't be able to get the best color on it. Thickness, we're looking at about 1 inch, maybe just over an inch. So yeah, one nice confident cut through, and the other side as well. So to achieve that round shape, or you know, near enough, I'm gonna have to cut the sides, and obviously with these you can use them in a mashed potato, do not discard them. So now using the peeler, I'm just going to get this rounded off, and then with the brittle edges, again, you want to round this off so that you get a nice even cook on these potatoes. So they are about the same thickness, and then we can get the potatoes in. So again, don't be afraid to get a nice deep color on the surface of the potatoes, because once we add in some of our stock to this and get it in the oven, essentially that stock will wash off some of that color of the surface of these potatoes. So let them develop a nice golden deep color on them. So once the potatoes have gone golden, we can just add in a few knobs of butter, and we can go in with a few slices of garlic, as this is all flavour. And lastly, I've got a few sprigs of thyme here, and I'll get that in there. And that thyme and the garlic will infuse that butter and the oil that's in the pan, and make that potato really nice, tasty and beautiful. So I'm just going to baste the potatoes. So I'm just going to add in stock. And then we can get the lid on and stick these inside the oven as well. And the oven's going at 160 degrees Celsius. We'll give it an initial 15 to 20 minutes, and we can check back on it then and see how they're coming along. So these potatoes have been inside the oven for about 15 minutes now, and they are coming along nicely. Essentially, the key to getting beautiful confit potatoes is to make sure that it's cooked all the way through, and you should be able to get a knife through them really easily. I'm just going to give this a baste, then we can just flip them over and stick them back in the oven, lid on, and back in there for about another 15. At this point, the beef has been inside the oven for about 2 hours, just over, and cooked all the way through, and we can now start working on the sauce. So I'm just going to remove the beef, and I can just set them to one side and get going with the sauce. So I will just pass this off, and we're done with all these veggies. Now they've done their job. So what we're going to do now is just get this back on the heat and all that liquid will reduce and all the flavor will intensify. So this has been about 15 minutes now and this liquid has reduced right down and the color's got richer and there is a lovely shine to it. Now I'm just going to add the beef back in there to warm it up a little bit, and to help it along I'm just going to add in a couple of bits of butter, and what that will do is give it a lovely shine at the end. As this liquid is reducing, we just glaze this sauce on top. It's developed a nice, deep, rich color. At this point, I'm just going to turn the heat off. The potato confit should be all nice and ready as well. So I'll remove that from the oven and we can start plating. Now I'm just gonna get some crispy onions for garnish and some finely chopped chive for a bit of greenery. Last but not least, our confit potatoes. There you have it, folks. Here's a beautifully braised cheek of beef with a lovely confit potato. Now over to you. Give this a try for yourself and come back and let me know in the comment box below how yours turn out. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and I'll be seeing you in the next one really soon. Until then, look after yourselves and each other.